I didn't quite hear that. Yeah? Okay. You guys know this is the main event of WonderCon Saturday. We're closing the show. So, I mean, all intents and purposes, we're closing it. You know, CM Punk closed it, we're closing it. It's, you know, if you're a wrestling fan.
That was not the favor.
It wasn't. This was. Event of WonderCon Saturday. This panel is Critics and Creators, the craft of the video game review. As you can see by my beautiful PowerPoint slide on my old 56 game modem. This panel is going to go over reviewing video games for audiences is a balancing act that is very different from other journalistic reviews. In this industry, there's much more weight and a direct impact of what we do, what is being reviewed, what the game developers have. It impacts oftentimes, many times directly in their sales, their bonuses, their salaries, sometimes even their jobs. On the other side, you have the enthusiasm of the fans, and that can oftentimes save a game with a good review or the way in which it's reviewed. Other times it can be misused and be hurtful. And so there's always this careful dance that reviewers, whether they're critics or creators or somewhere in the blend of in between, that has to be done. And our hope today with these panelists that I have is to explore that and to go over that and to maybe shed some information for all of you. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists. I'll start with me. Just so you know who's talking, sorry. I am the creator of the KJP Show, a platform where we celebrate and elevate indie games and game developers. I'm also the creator of a podcast, Save Point Stories, where I have guests come on and we explore connections, and we have video games and we talk about the influence those games have on us and the experiences we just go forward in life with. And now we have, he is the games editor for Temple of Geek, the entertainment website covering geek, pop culture news, events, video games, and more. He is a freelance writer for hire with work published at IGN, Watch Mojo, and Smashpad. Please welcome Maya Zovenza. I need to jump because one of our panelists couldn't make it. She is a Lisa of all trades, ranging from on-camera host, writer, Twitch streamer, and all-around professional nerd. She is an LA-based stand-up comedian, having just recently not only hit 10 years as a stand-up comedian, but also, a few months ago, filmed her first ever comedy special. Please welcome Lisa Wallen. He is the community coordinator for Games Outreach, a nonprofit organization devoted to bringing video games to children in hospitals. He is the executive editor of Smashpad, an independently run gaming website that has been up for nearly 20 years. Please welcome Danra Victorio. And she is a streamer who features everything from AAA games to indie passion projects. She hosts many Playmakers and Shakers, a live segment where she interviews game developers while playing their games. She is a hybrid content creator who combines a variety of gaming and IRL streaming, checking out LA pop-up events, art shows, cultural conventions, and foodie hotspots, all while building connections and engaging with her community. Please welcome Madrea Star. Okay, I think we've met everyone today. Now, I'd like to kind of just segue into the conversation and get into kind of a foundation for it. So, I'll start with Madrea, and we can work our way this way. When you talk about games, whether it be in videos, articles, or stream, this is for everyone, what kind of relationship are you hoping to connect with your audience when it comes to reviewing games? Are you trying to inform, entertain, critique, or a combination of these?
When it comes to, well, I want to entertain. So as a streamer, I feel like my job also is to entertain and to allow the audience to also have a piece of playing that game with me. Yeah, so that's a big part of streams, for live streams specifically.
Yeah, please.
Well, for me, I will basically try, or any type of media, as long as I see someone passionately talking about it. And I think that's what I bring with my audience. And so when it comes to like video game reviewing or just like talking and playing, I want people to see how it makes me feel. And I've been very lucky to basically review stuff that I'm very passionate about, but even when I'm not, I can see how it will relate to a certain audience. And so I try to be like, hey, this isn't really my thing, but I found this thing to be incredibly interesting and would love to explore that aspect of this whatever I'm playing more. So really it's just the passion of it. And also, I'm a comedian, so I always try to make things a little funny on top of it. So it is nice when you like interview or when you review Yakuza games, because they're all funny,
Yeah, they blend the hilarity in with the drama.
Drama and karaoke. Who doesn't love those? Like.
They have really good karaoke.
And please.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've reviewed games has changed a lot over the years. I grew up admiring sites like GameSpot, IGN, and our site was pretty much sort of a carbon copy of Giant Bomb, for those of you familiar with that one. And, we're not of the size of the GameSpot, IGN, Kotaku. We never will be. In fact, I do like a big handful of the work, so I know I'll never get there. But at the same time, it's like, since I know that, I do want to make sure that I have like the small person's opinion. So when we do a review on smashpad.com, for example, we go by 3 foundational questions. What is the game? Why should I care about the game? And is it worth my time and money? Games are a very expensive hobby, and we just want to make sure that everyone's making the right investment with their time and, the money that they make or will commit.
My turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think both on the creator side and on the editorial side, our job is both to inform and critique as well. But I think more on the creator side, their job's to entertain. So for me, I don't really worry about that. I try to like weave in jokes as much as I can. But for me, I'm mostly trying to make sure my audience is informed. So.
Interesting. Okay. Well, in all of the ways in which you guys all engage with it, are there any trends that you see in game reviews that you wish would go away, or ones you're excited about on either end of that? I'll start with Denro. I see you nodding there. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of a lot of like the podcasty sort of publications these days. Shout out to Kind of Funny. I love them. I worship all of the ground that they all walk on. But at the same time, it's like I would never consider myself the crazy loudmouth that Greg Miller is. I personally don't think that he represents the gamer as it will be. People have negative connotations for what gamers are, and sometimes there are a lot of loud voices that don't, to me, represent like what a lot of gamers are. Sometimes they're a silent minority and things like that, and I just want to make sure that games are accessible. They should be played by everyone and enjoyed by everyone, and I don't believe in gatekeeping, because a lot of gatekeeping exists as well.
I agree with that 100%. But also another thing that I've seen, not just in game journalism, but also like when it comes to anime or any type of media, is having a person who's reviewing them who isn't into those series or isn't passionate about it, which happens a lot because sometimes you just don't have people who like, hey, I don't know who plays this type of game. Can you review it? And even when I'm like reading like big reviews like Elden Ring and stuff, people will be like, oh, it was too hard for me, I couldn't get into it. It's like, yeah, we know the game is hard, okay? We want someone who's willing to suffer and tell us how it is, you know what I mean? Yeah. So there is a lot of, and I think we live in a world now where most journalists are freelance now, unfortunately. For those who do have jobs, congrats. And so I think it is much easier to find people, especially writers out there, who are passionate about certain series or certain games versus just going for someone to be like, hey, I know you've never played this type of series before, can you review it? And you can always tell in the writing whether or not they actually enjoyed it or whether or not they would put thought into things. And so I'm very big on like, I need to feel the emotion when you're writing this. I don't want it to look like ChatGPT to me, you know?
Yeah,
so,
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Majori, what do you think?
Yeah, I think as it shifts to more indie games, I feel like folks will come in and their opinions will matter more. The community's opinion will matter a lot more than a score metric. So I feel that's a big part of the shift that's gonna hopefully be happening. So it'll be more contextual, so as opposed to just a score.
Yeah, people really care about. People think 7 out of 10 is bad. I'm like, listen, I graduated 7 out of 10. Okay, and I'm fine. It's okay.
And then if you're grading on a curve,
Yeah.
Well, I think that part of why people think 7 out of 10 is bad is because of the grading system, due to the fact that 7 is viewed as mediocre, middle of the road, whereas in reality it's a lot better than that. But
Listen, in LA, I'm a 7 out of 10. Okay, so I think I'm pretty cool. So.
no, I'm not saying a 7 out
and
of 10.
I will say we will save questions for when we're out after the panel, and we can engage more in a thoughtful discussion there. But I'd like to hear also, Miles, what do you have to share? What do you
Yeah, I think they all have great points. I think, I don't know if it's like a trend necessarily, but there's this idea that video games are just for kids. And that's really annoying because it's not true.
It is not true.
And so, like, if you're kind of viewing this from outside of our industry, we don't really get taken as seriously as other people. That's one thing I would love to change.
Yeah, and you compare that to other mediums where they look at a film critic and they look at those and they don't look at it in that same light. Whereas in the game industry, it should be, to your point, valid. I'd like to hit on a point, Lisa, you brought up about the personal, like, what someone brings into it. And this question, I'll start with you, Lisa. When reviews are coming out, how do you feel about the objectivity versus the personal bias? It sounded like you had some thoughts on it, and I want to just further, maybe, I guess, elaborate on that.
I've had issues with some things that I've done journalism-wise where it's like, we do like having your personal bias in it, but this isn't just for people who play those games, this is for everyone. So yeah, I think it is kind of hard when it's like, for example, if you're reviewing the 7th title of the Yakuza series as someone who's played all the other ones, you're going to review it as someone who's followed the storyline. But if you also need to sell this game as a brand new game, you have to be able to do that as well. And I think it's easy to be able to put your own like experiences and spoilers and whatnot, but at the same time, I think for me, when the reason why I start playing certain games is because I've seen how fan bases are so passionate about them. And so for me, it's like, okay, if I can start at this game that just came out, like, am I going to be missing out stuff? Yeah, you will, but you'll still be able to enjoy it. So I think it's good to have your personal biases, but you also have to remember, not everyone has played this series, or not everyone is into this thing. How do you sell it to someone who's never been into it before? So I think it's a mix of both.
Right.
That's what you're asking. It's kind of hard. It's a hard question to answer. Yeah.
It's very nuanced.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. At the end of the day, a review for anything, game or film or whatever, it's just some guy's opinion, you know? But it's important to be objective if you analyze mechanics or, like, performance or something. So, like, I agree. I think it's a mix of both, for sure. It's really hard not to be.
Yeah.
That's why you have editors.
That's
Speaking of editors, I'd love, Dana, could you share some insights on this? How do you feel about objectivity and personal biases?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, because like sometimes, like, and I'm sure Miles has seen this, we're fortunate to receive codes from various publishers. A lot of times there'll be games that we honestly do not care about at all, and we just gotta find a writer for it. And sometimes we just take one for the team, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, we're playing this game. Is it actually good? And then sometimes I'll talk to Miles because he's playing it too. So do you like this one? I've spent like 2 hours on it, so I'll write the review. And I'm like, oh no, we shouldn't write the review either. Yeah, so I don't know. It's different in that regard. But you know, going back to what Lisa said about having undying passions for that community, specifically with the Yakuza, for example. I mean, like, with our last podcast, we talked about Pirate Yakuza for a long time. It was your first time with the Yakuza game.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you about how awesome the series is. And, you know, not every game is going to be nice to you in regards to, all right, this person hasn't played this series before, this person has. So how do we go ahead and, you know, marry both of those in such a way where we want to show how awesome this series is? And I feel like reviewers, whether they're new to the series or old to the series, it's going to matter. Like, this guy a while ago talked about sevens being mediocre and whatnot. Another thing that I find annoying in the industry is seeing like a Twitter response, and it's like, all right, IGN gave this an 8, but they give this game a 9. It's not about the publication, it's about the writer.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the same writer, go ahead and complain, but if they're different people, it's going to be their opinion. So that's where I go about that.
And that higher score doesn't necessarily mean it's a better game than the other game with a lower score. It just depends on the game.
Absolutely.
And so, also, I want to start, Madrea, with this next question. A lot of times, like you're talking about, Dan, up here, of scores affecting publishers. I was mentioning that a bit as well. It affects the bonuses potentially and everything, and so scores become a very key aspect of it. Madrea, whenever you're streaming or whenever you're talking about these games in any kind of capacity, do you, and for everyone on the panel, I want to hear everyone's thoughts, but do you feel there's ever a pressure that comes with that and speaking or sharing your thoughts on those games? And how do you navigate that?
I think game developers appreciate constructive criticism instead of fake praises. I think that's important for game developers out there. So, I mean, as for me, going back to a little bit of the previous question, as a streamer, I do feel biased or lean towards more like co-op games or like community games, or like, like immersive like storytelling type games. So I do feel that I'm in a lucky position that I have the podcast or the show where I am allowed to interview these game devs and have a chance to talk to them one-on-one, so you can really know what their intent and what their actual envision is of their game, and I think that's more important than just that number.
I'm gonna get spicy real quick.
Oh.
I was by trade, I'm a community manager. Like, I am here as a game reviewer because that's what I've done for the last 20 years. But I've been paid to manage communities. I've been at EA for 7 years. Before that, I worked for a mobile game company called Blue. We got acquired by EA. And, it really depends. Not every studio is out there to get like the best review score, because oftentimes they're not gonna really matter, right? Me working at EA, not to go ahead and throw them under the bus, but money means a lot. The microtransactions mean a lot. We want to see people spending money on the game, and that's actually going to be what affects a lot of the bonuses. There are a lot of studios where the meta score does matter, but at the end of the day, your game has to sell, and we're at a rough point where it doesn't even really matter anymore. Like, I don't know how many of you are really, really following the industry. It is terrible to work in it right now. I was laid off last year. I did not have a job for 6 months before I found, my position at Gamers Outreach. But for example, Marvel Rivals, the game that just came out, a few months ago, their studio in Seattle got closed down because no one knows. They're not going to say it's an NDA thing. But at the end of the day, that publisher is based in China. Seattle makes Seattle money. If you make Seattle money in China, you're like a crazy billionaire over there, So yeah, the money really matters too, and that's where a lot of the pressure comes in. And with the industry being with the way it is right now, it almost feels like we're at a crossroads of, does the money matter? Do the scores matter? Like, how do we keep our jobs? And that's the kind of struggle we have.
Yeah, you see, even last year with Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
It was a well-praised game, award-winning studio, hit all the metrics it was trying to hit, still found out that they were going to get laid off.
Yeah.
And so it's, even the metrics that they are setting in place, it becomes a challenging point. So.
Yeah. Real quick though, Tango Gameworks did get taken over by Kraft and
They did?
So yeah, they're safe, but not everybody.
But that's rare. That's super rare.
Yeah, that's the few good stories that we have.
This next question I want to bring to Lisa, but Darren, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Lisa, so as a comedian and a streamer, you're often blending entertainment with your honest reactions to gameplay. When you're streaming games live, I'm going to use a game just arbitrarily, let's say a game like Chrono Trigger, for example.
I just beat it for the first time, guys. I'm a changed woman.
If you know, you know.
How was I missing out on this?
But with a game like that, how do you balance making it fun for your audience, but also offering kind of a thoughtful critique?
Well, I think now that I started streaming during the pandemic because I couldn't do stand-up, and I realized that a lot of people really liked my voice about things, because I'm a little shameless. I'm a little spicy, like you are, you know? But also, my whole thing is I just want to have fun, and I'm very passionate about stories. And I also am not a turn-based JRPG player, but people sold Chrono Trigger to me, and I was like, listen, I trust my community enough to know if I'm going to like something. And so it ended up becoming one of my favorite games of all time. Again, changed woman right now, okay? But yeah, I think with being a comedian, it really helps because people always expect some sort of performance on top of it, and I'm naturally a very performative person. But also, streaming is not a stand-up. Like, I'm not writing my stream. You know how it is. It's very real, very visceral to be streaming. So when I play,
can't fake it.
Yeah.
Your reactions at all.
Yeah, which is why it's like I'm a little shameless because I have to be. I can't pretend to enjoy a game that I clearly hate. And so I think for me, it's like they see the comedic side of me, and they also can tell, like, oh, she's genuinely enjoying this. So for me, I just trust my audience and my community now to a point where it's like, if you think I will like it, you will know right now watching it if I do, and if I don't like it, it's still entertaining because I'm being annoying. So
they can tell. The audience can tell if you're enjoying the game or
it's so much different than stand-up because the audience is my reaction in stand-up comedy, but in streaming, I am the reaction. So it's the best way to put it.
Now, on the other side, I know, Dana, as you mentioned, you have dual experience as both a journalist and as a community manager, and you have a unique perspective in that, as you were sharing a bit. How do you navigate being a voice for the community while also critiquing the industry or the games you're involved with? Is there ever a challenge in balancing those two sides, that duality?
It really depends. I was in mobile, and there aren't really a whole lot of mobile publications that cover everything the way that the AAA games industry does. The main thing is that as a community manager, I am taking feedback from our community and giving it to our developers, and then I will take the developers' stuff. It's usually going to be a no, but at the same time, we know when there is a yes, we just want to show that the community is being felt in however way that we can. And that's really a struggle for a lot of studios for whatever reason, just because I don't know why, but they just don't want to be able to tell the truth. And you wish it gets different in that regard, but it is what it is there. And then, bringing my journalistic point of view, it's kind of hard because, as both Lisa and I can share, we like to get spicy. We're going to go ahead and give our hot takes, but you're going to be under NDA. You can get fired for anything that you say. So you got to be careful in that regard. But it's just a matter of knowing your audience, knowing your development team. For those of you that have done that before, and then just finding the way to marry the two. The main thing for me is I just want to be morally correct with what I'm doing.
That's good. And I kind of want to go back, Madre, to what you were saying about, and Lisa, both of you kind of share this live streaming and how that real-time reactions can be felt. Madre, do you ever feel or find that your live impressions evolve into a bit of a more nuanced take later, or do you just, how do you balance that and communicate that with your viewers and audience?
So with streaming, I would say it's 70% to 80% audience and maybe 30-20% game. So I feel like that balance, I am for sure paying a lot more attention to my audience. I feel like that's very important because that's what if they just want to watch a video of the gameplay, they can watch the video of just the gameplay. But they're here to be involved, so I do invite them to help me. So backseat gaming is fine on my stream. I invite that.
You are brave.
Yeah,
as a woman.
Yeah, I invite that. I invite that. But they're just there is a nuance to that. I feel like there's
you jumped in the wrong warp pipe.
Also, I think too, and the same goes with game journalism, I think everyone realizes that the reason why people do come to your work is because they appreciate your voice and they trust your voice, because right now we have an industry that is constantly dealing with layoffs, but also oversaturated at the same time, especially in the entertainment part. Like, ever since the pandemic, everyone is an influencer. And so having a very niche a voice that also shows that it's very passionate and cares about what you're talking about and what you're expressing is very important, I think, as both a streamer and a writer. And eventually you start to develop an audience, a community that follows along with that. And so, yeah, there is kind of a nuance right there, because you're like, I want to make sure that I can keep my audience and my community, but also be authentically myself.
Right, yeah, I agree. I also feel like sometimes when I'm playing my games, since I'm not fully engaged in the game, that I might overlook something that the audience can see that I did not. So I feel like that also helps that balance for me.
Okay. And I'd like to kind of also, you're pointing out the nuanced conversations and the engagement you're having with your viewers and your readers. I'm very curious, Miles, I'd like to start with you on this one of, what about when it goes a little bit awry? Like, if you're handling a very popular franchise and you're giving a much more nuanced conversation that doesn't agree with the common direction, or if you just have general backlash for anything that you're sharing or voicing about something, how is that challenge faced? Have you experienced it? And this is for everyone. Like, what is that like? Can you share some experience?
Yeah, personally, I don't care if I get backlash, because at the end of the day, my job is to give my opinion on the game. That's what the review is, as I said earlier. I personally don't care. I feel like more on the creator side, where you're much more audience facing. That's much harder to navigate. I don't have a great answer.
You don't read
I
comments?
don't really deal with that. I don't really deal with that.
Yeah, my site is too small for people to complain about me, so
Yeah.
here's that. But as a community manager who worked on a multi-million-dollar game, everything I said would just get, trashed on, and it's just a matter of like knowing what to ignore and what to go ahead and respond to. They really, really enjoy responses. I don't know if you guys saw what Assassin's Creed did to, talking about spicy, that's the one right there. And just from that comment alone, so basically Assassin's Creed Twitter just told off Elon Musk on Twitter, which he
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah!
So many hell yeah moments there.
Ubisoft needed a win, and that sold some copies.
Yeah.
So
if
everyone's
people
saying, yeah, give that community manager a raise. That's not how it works, but like he should get a raise. It's awesome. He or she, sorry.
If people cite Ubisoft over you did something wrong. Like,
Lisa, what about yourself?
you had that fucked up really bad.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Just how is handling backlash, or when you share an insight on something that doesn't jive with the conversation?
Oh, I'm literally dealing with that right now because I'm streaming Death Stranding, and I am a huge. Maybe don't cheer yet. I'm a huge Kojima fan. I played all the Metal Gear Solid games and Peace Walker, and Death Stranding has not hit the same.
It's mid.
But there's a very specific, I don't want to spoil it even though the game's old, but there's a very specific line that happens towards the end of the game that is so beyond goofy. And everyone's like, oh, it's Kojima. And I was like, this isn't good. Listen, Metal Gear Solid is goofy all the way through. Death Stranding really isn't, except for this one part, and it makes me really upset. And my chat was they're just like, you say you're a Kojima fan, blah, blah, blah. And they're just screaming at me. And I was just like, you know what? You're watching my stream, so I don't care what you think. You're here and you're watching, you're still having fun. So I realized that I used to be scared of backlash, like when I first started, because I just want everyone to like me. And then I realized people want authenticity. And not in like a mean way where you're like berating people and making them feel, but they want to see your honesty and your reactions. And since I make things funny, they like it. They're like, whatever, we disagree with you, but it's still funny. So I listen, my backlash is bombing on stage. So the internet comments don't do anything to me.
Yeah. For skip. Madrid, how about yourself?
I agree what Lisa said, because with streaming, also, I do invite opinions. So if you have opinions, as long as they're constructive, right? I feel that's very important. Is having constructive constructive feedback. That's what I feel most helpful. So it's okay to have backlash. So
Backlash could be good too.
Yeah.
It's something you could learn from it too.
Yeah, again, and if it's in the ways and communicated, much like a review, you're not saying a game is just good or bad, end of statement. You're giving a constructive criticism of something, and it's like a layer on top of that. It's a great point, Miles.
One great thing that I want to talk about with constructive criticism, like, I don't really take your criticism seriously unless you give me the feedback as to what to improve. Because like gamers complain all the time about X, Y, Z, but they don't talk about how they'd improve it. I'm like, okay, how are you helping me? You're just like talking crap. So.
And that's the approach we take when we review games too. Like, you can not like something and it's fine, but you have to be able to kind of explain why you don't like it and like how to get better.
yeah, you can't just trash the game.
Exactly. That's not good work at all.
Yeah.
You can trash specific lines in a specific game, so.
Well, Miles, I did want to talk, and Dan, this goes starting with you guys, but for everyone, of looking at both sides of it, from streaming, content creation, YouTube video essays, and also from an editorial and writing side. How do you look at what traditional journalism has done with criticism, and how do you think the creator side could benefit from some of those attributes or lessons or anything?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think I just answered it though too. Like, if you don't like something, that's totally fine. That's just going to happen. Not every game is for every person. That you have to be able to do it in like a kind of not in a way that's crapping on the game, right? Just constructive criticism.
Taking a minute to pause, a fan did not just get on stage. We have our fifth and surprise final guest, Renell Crawford. I want to give him a proper introduction. He is the voice and creator of 8-Bit Closed Fist, and he also is one half of the new show, Checkpoint the Show, video game talk show. Thank you, Renell, for joining us. Hope you're okay.
Thanks for pausing.
Thank you for being here.
But to preface again for Renell and for everyone, what Miles was just talking about is what practices from the journalistic side could create content creation and streaming maybe benefit, or that you see just from your perspective could use more of potentially. Dan, would you like to go?
We're going to me now.
Whoever would like to jump in.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and age myself here. The first game that I reviewed that I did not buy, was given to me, was Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance.
Nice.
A lot of people weren't even alive when the Game Boy Advance came out, and, oh well. But yeah, like, that means I've been reviewing games since before influencers were a thing. And that being said, you know, I went to college with the purpose of being a game reviewer. Obviously that didn't work out, but a paid game reviewer. That didn't work out. But part of the reason is just because, all right, like everything moved to video, and as a writer, I didn't want to take all that time doing B-roll and all that stuff. So that kind of, was to my detriment. And as a result, we're seeing more people find the YouTube game reviews to be more helpful than the ones who are just writing. And like, it's affected our hits. And when you affect the hits, you're not getting the stuff that you got before, so it makes reviewing games a lot harder. So like, there's like some sort of small like jealousy, if you want to put it there, just because like, man, I wish I could have jumped on the influence chain. I know it's not too late, but at the same time, it's like we have a different kind of skill set. But as for how we can help, the way it is now, it's really just continuing to talk to each other. Like, right before the panel, like I added everyone here on LinkedIn and Instagram, and like, learning more about their voices, learning more about what they're playing. Like, Lisa likes Yakuza and Just Beat Chrono Trigger. Like, those are some of my favorite games of all time. It's like, I met her before. She was a friend a long time ago. So yeah, it's that kind of stuff. And like, friend.
Called having taste.
Yeah, exactly. Like the secret to life is like, people affect people, and it can be in positive and negative ways. And as long as you keep those minds that you want in your life, then it'll affect you in the way that you want to affect it. Whether that be game reviewing, whether that be, whatever you want to do. So.
I do think from the creator end, because I do both, I think it's creators, especially like streamers, influencers, they get an overwhelming amount of companies reaching out, be like, hey, can you review our game? Can you talk about our game? Blah blah. And it gets to the point where I have actually missed out on some pretty cool opportunities because of how many emails I get. And it's not because I'm cool, all right? It's because they send them out to everybody. And I think companies, what they can do to help creators is to find specific creators, especially as a community manager, to find people who are actually interested in whether it's a small series or big series, instead of being like, okay, who's a big voice in gaming? Because I'm going to talk crap about RGG Studios real quick because I love Yakuza games. For the launch of Infinite Wealth that came out last year, they had XQC do the launch stream for it, and I was like, this man does not give a flying crap about this game at all. And it actually really bugged the community a lot because it was a request from the Japanese end and not from the community end here at Sega in America, because they just wanted the numbers go up. But the man played the game and didn't do anything but gamble, which is ironic. But it did put like it kind of just gave them a little bad rep for a while. And it's like, I understand like the numbers and the viewership is really important, but it's like, if you have someone playing the game or reviewing the game that does not give a crap about it, then you're just doing yourself a disservice, especially to the people who are really into it. It's like, I can name 20 creators I know who have great audiences that would have loved to be a part of that, but instead they're like, let's just put like a big streamer on there. So if anything, it's like, instead of overwhelming the smaller creators with a bunch of stuff that they don't want to do, go out and find specific people that you know who would love it, and they would gladly do it, probably for a lower amount of pay than you are willing to offer too. So that's a tip for anyone who owns a company.
All our company owners out there?
Yeah, there you go. You can underpay us, it's fine. No. But I think that does help, because like, I've missed out on opportunities of games that I really like because I'm like, this is overwhelming me to shift through all this stuff. And then when I do get ones I like, it's like, oh, like, yeah, dude, I would love to work on this specific thing, So.
No, it's great insights. I think that's a lot to really grow. Sorry, Ronald, go for it.
And those press engine emails be like 50 a day.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I just joined Press Engine, so I totally get it.
And Ronell, I wanted to get some of your thoughts on this. So often, I know you bring culture and community into the spotlight with your conversations. How important is it when you're reviewing or critiquing to reflect on that diversity or the variety of gamer experiences out there when you approach your content about any game X or Y?
I don't think about that at all.
Yeah?
Yeah. I have, and I don't want to go on a rant, that would be crazy, my first. I think that my view on reviews and how we review games should probably be radically changed.
Please propose an idea.
So like, first, number scores out of there. I think, to sum it all up, I just feel like people should look at creators who they could kind of have a similar taste to, or at least understand their taste, so that then you can then make a decision on whether or not the game makes sense for you, right? If you come across a creator like XQC who has an attention span of like 0.5 seconds, who only plays competitive games, and they say they love this story, maybe that's an interesting ass story. Right, or vice versa. So when I think about my own reviews, since I am a content creator, and most of the people who see my videos will probably see another one of my videos, I like to just kind of put my preferences and ideas and biases like up front. Like, I let people know, like, hey, I like the grind, I like a good gameplay loop. If that's like great in the game, I'm probably gonna love the game. So I'm letting everyone know that now, right? So now, if something comes across that and it's not that, and I say I don't like it, you're not shocked, Yeah.
Sorry, I was giving a window. If anyone else would like to.
Just real quick, like, a lot of people think game reviews and sites are dying. It's not really that. It's just a matter of like just trying to find the voice in the medium that most represents yours, and then just go ahead and following that person, because like some of us said, like, not everybody's going to work at the same company forever, but at the same time they love it enough to keep doing it. You follow their content, you support them, and it'll help a lot.
I'd like to go into this next question, starting with Ronell, and then we'll work our way this way. with each of your backgrounds, whether it be comedy, journalism, streaming, community management, or any and all of the above, how does that shape the way in which you enter the conversation? We've already talked a little bit about all these different, Renelle, you brought it up a little bit, and Danner, you brought it up a little bit. I just want to kind of go back to that and kind of see, how does it, like, when does it stem from? Where does it go? What's your process like? If, is it, how does it go?
Yeah, I think since a lot of my great experiences with games involve like other people, community, right, talking to them, describing the game, just kind of hanging out around the game. I think that's how I go about how I review games, kind of. It's like I'm thinking about people and how are they going to feel about the game. What are some things that I just think people like? Obviously, I can speak to that if you're a person like me, right? Like I talk about my experience, and therefore I talk about if you have similar preferences to me, it may align with yours, or or the opposite. So I think going into like reviews and how I kind of talk about video games in general, it's from like a people first kind of aspect, kind of like a behavior aspect, and just kind of going from there.
Okay. Madre, how about you?
Yeah, I feel, just to piggyback on that, being a streamer, we are aware of what our community is doing out there. I think it's very important for us to do research beforehand than just like, oh look, this is the game out there that everybody is playing, but see whether you like to play the game or not, instead of just what the popular demand.
I just did for GameSpot, I did the secret level episode reviews, and I had not played all those games. So it was like a kind of like a challenge for me, because it's like I'm just going this by like someone who's viewing this, and then I realized like, oh, just write it honestly. Like, it sounds so cliche, but you'd be surprised how hard it is to be honest when it comes to representing a company, because you're like, oh God, I gotta write like this 2,000 word review, but like I don't really know much about it. And the thing is in the end, they want to make all reviews to be for everyone. Like, yes, like as like someone who has like a creative and comedic background, I want people to like my voice, but my voice is gonna show through my honesty. And the thing is when it comes to like reviewing something, always make it for as broad as an audience as you can. It's just like writing a stand-up joke. Like, I can't go on stage and make a Chrono Trigger joke because people who play Chrono Trigger don't go to comedy shows. So
let's change that.
But I do write gaming jokes, and I've managed to make them broad enough to go for a broad audience. And so that's kind of how I review games, is like, how can I make this, if I still don't know much about this, how do I make this broad enough for everyone else, including myself? So it's like, I wasn't into Warhammer, but I watched the Warhammer episode. I was like, this shit was dope. Like, I was just like, this was so cool, blah, blah, blah. I know nothing about Warhammer, but made me want to play Space Marine 2. And people were like, yeah, like, that's pure honesty. Instead of being like, I don't know much about it, but like, I guess it was all right. But it was just like, no, I talked about the things that I liked. I was just like, you're not gonna lie, I haven't played this game before, so I'm just reviewing this as like a spectator. And that's the thing, is like, always try to reach the broadest audience as possible and be honest and use your own voice. Again, it sounds cliche, but this is how I've always written, and here I am, and I don't have a job, and so there you go. Yeah!
No, I share that too, just on the note of, as Danner was mentioning, I was talking about Yakuza, the latest one with the pirates, and I have never played a prior one, and it was my introduction to it, so I approached it from that angle of, if someone else is like me, how would they experience this, and what could that, is it open to them, is it not? And I felt like, to me, it was a great, like, I felt like I could now immerse myself into that world, and trying to articulate that to the reader as well was kind of where I approached that, so.
I think with any form of entertainment, but you just want to reach the broadest audience possible.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Danner, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main way you reach that audience and the way you make people care about you and what you're reviewing is by having those teaching moments, A lot of us, in a way, are like teachers, because, if we're really used to a certain series, we'll talk about why it's great. If it's new to us, we had to go ahead and learn the background of it. We had to go ahead and go through the flames and whatnot to really understand it, so we can go ahead and give people that understanding. And, that way you go ahead and reach your audiences, and it just helps people understand you even more. And honestly, like, when it came to me getting my job in community management, I worked for a baseball game. Baseball is my least favorite sport, but at the same time, I know sports. I am a hardcore football fan, and at the same time, I was a huge gamer, and I made that visible throughout all my interviews. I was honest about, me wanting to use the platform for good, and like that was the main thing. So when I go ahead and take over social media, I can go ahead and be truthful about who I am and what I do. It's like, all right, this guy doesn't know baseball, but he knows games, so we can go ahead and definitely trust him in that regard. And that's gone a long way. We just got past GDC last week. I've been going to GDC for a few years now. And this was my first time wearing like multiple hats. I was there as media, but I also introduced myself as the community coordinator for Gamers Outreach, which is always going to be more interesting, right? Because I'm not just talking about games. I'm talking about bringing games to children in hospitals. And like, no one is going to bad talk that, right? So it's like, okay, this guy is like really working for something important, so I should listen to him, and it matters.
Yeah, that's a great point. Miles, how about yourself?
Could you repeat the question?
No, just in the conversation of where's your process? How do you root into how you find your voice and what do you do?
Well, so when I review a game, when I get a code early and I get the embargo date, my process starts with panic, actually.
Yeah, help me out of that. Yeah, just a little window.
Yeah, because like a lot of people think reviewing games is easy. Like not necessarily that it's hard, but it's a big time sink. A lot of people see that reviews like 1,000 words or whatever and think, okay, you did it in like an hour. No, it's like weeks of work because you have to play the game, you have to replay the game. So, I mean, I guess my process would just be to focus on it and like we keep talking about, just play it from like a more critical eye.
I think something many, to your point there, everyone on this stage they are not just looking at us and saying, oh, they're just playing games for a living. Everyone's approaching this from performing it, looking at things with a critical eye, examining it, articulating it in some fashion.
Yeah, it's not always fun. It's a lot of work. Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah. Miles was talking about embargoes, and like that gives me panic also, because shout out to my girlfriend who gives me time to go ahead and play a game or whatever it may be, and then she'll ask me about it, like, what are you playing? What's it about? And that actually helps me in the review process. So thank you.
Well, Lisa, you brought up a good point. I'd like to start with you on this one of when you're talking and trying to reach the broadest audience possible, do you change your approach and like how you navigate that, whether it be the most mainstream of games or a very niche game that people may not get in any fashion?
I've luckily been able to do like bigger games, like because it's like, oh, she likes Yakuza, she likes From Software, like we'll put her on those stuff. And it is hard. Those are both, even though giant franchises, very niche people play them because it's either you want to suffer and die a lot to bosses in the From Software games, or you want to not ever do the story and spend 700 hours doing karaoke. So it's like very niche people like both of those. But the thing is I still have to be able to sell that to like bigger audience. Is that what the question was?
Just how do you handle that versus, Pokemon, everyone knows Pokemon.
It's very, honest where it's like, and sometimes, if I do, because I do freelance journalism, sometimes when I work for certain companies, they'll be like, actually, you can't say that, you can't do this, because it's like, they know I'm speaking from my heart, almost, and they're like, you're too honest. But when I reviewed Elden Ring, it was like, hey, for those, this is a good starter point for From Software games, would just know, this is how those games play. So it's kind of like a warning, almost. And same thing with the Yakuza, Like a Dragon games. It's like, these are very long, very story-heavy games. There is a lot of side content, but it's almost like I have to preface things. But I'm also very passionate, so it's like I want everyone to play these games, even though they might not be your thing. They're worth giving a try. So really, it's just I have to be able to enjoy what it is, and if I think I can enjoy it, I can sell it to anyone. I think I'm naturally a good salesman. So, and I think that's how you kind of have to look at journalism to begin with, because again, this is an industry that's constantly dealing with layoffs, but also has a lot of people who want to work in it. So it's like, you need your voice to stick out. And so if it's something that you're not even that familiar with, you can hopefully trust that people appreciate your honesty instead of being like, well, I don't want to do this. And if it's something that you're passionate about and people aren't into, maybe they can trust that, hey, this person's opinion actually seems like it matters and that I want to see what they're into. So. if that answers that.
No, absolutely. Renee, I'd like to hear your questions as well.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how do you change your approach, or is it very much the same when you're approaching a niche subject or a niche game or a mainstream game that is wider public and wider facing?
Yeah, I think luckily I have like played games. I've only reviewed games that I like. Like she said, like there's a lot of games that come in, so I just pick the ones that I like anyway, or at least that I'm interested in, and I have a pretty good idea of the games that I like. Sometimes those games are niche, and I feel like for those I have less of a guard up, because I'm like, the people who look at this, the people who are going to play this, they know, you know what I'm saying? They're coming into this to play the game. Like they're not even clicking on this video if they don't know something about this. So I feel like for that, I can be like the most, I don't know, kind of lackadaisical about it. You know, I can just like straight up just say my opinion. It's like, hey, this thing happened, this thing that happened. But when it comes to the broader games, I feel like I have to be a little bit more precise.
Okay.
I feel like I have to be more like explanatory. Like I only played like 10 hours of Life of Dragon. The last one before that. But then I reviewed the pirate one, right? So I just had to be like, hey, look, guys. I ain't really playing no Yakuza games, you know? So I'm just letting y'all know now. This is
I love that Yakuza's become the game every time. I'm sorry. There are other video games out there, I promise.
Sponsored by Yakuza. So I had to like be, like explain it to them, like, hey, I don't really know. Like you guys, it almost becomes a collaborative review. Like you let me know, like what am I missing here? What do I do? But when I played this, I felt blah blah blah. So that's kind of how I take it. Like the niche games, I actually kind of enjoy a little bit more because I just feel like almost nobody's going to see this anyway, kind of. Which is not the case. They do. Yeah.
Madrid, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I guess working with sponsorships or anything like that, I think it's very important to be transparent, of course, but obviously being honest, whether what you like about the game, and it might not be something that you might not like, but somebody else may like, right? So it's having that way of thinking and being objective. And I feel like for us, when we stream, sometimes I feel it takes a minute for it to click, right? Like sometimes I also play games, if I'm like truly like this is a review, I will play them also off stream, so then I can give it my full attention. So there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to that.
No, that's an important insight to share and make sure we understand is like that you're live in the moment as opposed to then being able to collect some thoughts and really sit with them and understand them. Yeah, how about yourself?
I would say, because a lot of us understand, to be honest, I would think something that is equally as important is being able to articulate like your thoughts and like understand what you actually like in the game specifically and what you don't like, so that when you are honest, it's still constructive in a way, right? Instead of like, this shit's ass, that could be honest, but
it's not constructive. You're right, absolutely.
Yeah, because I represent a smaller site, niche games actually matter more to me and my audience, just because we're the ones who are going to go ahead and take that chance. Like for example, last year, my most popular review as far as hits was this game called Until Then. This was developed by Polachromo Studios. That's a studio in the Philippines. And me being Filipino American, I definitely wanted to get back in touch with my roots, and yeah, that got me a whole lot of hits. And the Filipinos, they stick together. So almost, I was like, where's this fight coming from? Oh, the Philippines. Cool, we got 30,000 over here. That's freaking awesome. So yeah, and then this year my most popular review is another indie called After Love EP. And that one is based in Indonesia. It's a slice of life game about this guy who lost his girlfriend to an accident, but he's also a member of a band. So it's learning about how he copes and moves on with his life, and it's a really interesting thing. But just quickly talking about those niches, I'm lucky enough to have you two as friends. I was part of an early review for Monster Hunter, and just for Inside Baseball, we we got invited to a Discord with other people in the game as far as like reviewers and stuff like that. And it really opened our eyes to see people with the different kinds of passions and level that they play at. Like, I was never huge with Monster Hunter. I started getting involved with Monster Hunter World. And then, Miles was new at it, Kurosh has been there for a while, and I was talking about my experience, and I was like, you know what, you guys are going to carry me because I suck at this game. And then when it was time to record our review, I was like, this game's kind of easy, am I wrong about that? And it turns out when the reviews came out, a lot of the people who played it for a long time were talking about how easy it was, and I was like, oh, I learned something. So.
And Miles, how about yourself?
Yeah, I guess from my perspective on the editorial side, like I pay a lot of attention to the kind of language I use. Like video games have a lot of jargon, and so if I'm trying to reach like a broad audience, I'll try to use as little of that as possible. But sometimes it's unavoidable. But also try to cater to like the hardcore fans who will get that as well. So it's always just a balancing act.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I've never played Yakuza before, ever.
Yet.
Ever.
Yet. We're working on that. Okay, I do want to close out with one last question, and I'll open this up to everyone. Miles, we'll start with you this time. And I kind of want to just talk about what would you say to someone who's hesitant to share their thoughts or on a game or they just don't feel qualified to be a critic or creator in some capacity to speak about a subject matter like this?
Yeah, I think probably all of us out here might have some amount of imposter syndrome. You're qualified for sure. I don't feel qualified at all. But you just have to start, just start anywhere, whether you write a blog or start streaming or do like a YouTube channel or something, just start somewhere. I guess, we are all here for a reason, but we also all had to start.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everybody's a critic. If you've ever had an opinion, that's a review. So it's just a matter of like, trying to find your different way of articulating with it. And, I'm going to go ahead and hop on what Miles said. All you got to do is start, whether it's starting a YouTube channel, whether it's, starting your own blog. Again, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old, and I'm like amazed that I'm sitting here at a WonderCon panel. So, anybody can do it, but you got to put the work in, and that's the only way you improve. Because like, I've read one of my reviews when I was 14 years old. That was hot trash.
Can we read it?
We'll be sharing it after the event.
It was Picnic, the original Picnic. Yeah.
You are qualified because I barely went to college and I get paid to do this. So it's an imposter. It really is the dumbest thing to say. People ask me all the time, how'd you get into stand-up comedy? I was bored one day. That was it. And I went, and now that's what I do for money. And that's it. Everyone, there's no qualifications, there's no resume involved. If you have a voice and you're somewhat likable, do it, and like, you don't even have to publish anything. Just get practice being in front of the camera, practice your writing, and then eventually, once it's out there, people will find it. Like, if you have peers that are into it, if there's people that you like, you could even reach out to probably one of us. Don't. But you could reach out to one of us and just be like, where did you get your start? How did you get connected? I'm kidding. Like, I am very, very open to like having people like ask me like how I got to where I was, because that's how I learned. I reached out to comedians that were touring. I reached out to journalists. I reached out to friends. And you know what they did? They eventually hired me for things. And that's honestly the best advice I can give you. That's not just start doing it, is try to find people that you like-minded people, other people do it, and just reach out to them and maybe kind of see what their process is like.
Shoot your shot, because if you don't, then you're never going to get anywhere that you want to get.
Yeah.
You got to take risks, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. To piggyback off of that, not every game is for everyone, and that is A-okay. Reviews are evolving conversations. So it's just a continuation of multiple conversations. Your views can change over time. It can evolve, and that is good. That is okay, because as the game evolves and the community evolves, that will go with it too.
Yeah. Definitely get started. You will suck. I think that's very important for you to understand and acknowledge. You are not good at it. And I do think it's hard, actually, to review a game. Playing a game is easy. I think reviewing a game is not. You got to play through it, even if at one point you dislike it, right? Now you kind of got to play a game that you don't like for just hours. A lot of us don't have unlimited time. That sucks sometimes. While you're playing a game, understanding how to take notes, how to like actually develop this this writing essay that you're going to have to do, whether it's video or article. It is kind of difficult. It is not just start. Right, put the pencil down, and get started. It will be trash. It will be very bad. But I think if you acknowledge that and try and get better, like understand that you are not good and that there are skills that you do have to gain, I think it'll be great.
Also, people like to see growth. So even if you suck, people like to see you suck. And they like to see you get better. Okay? So remember that. I watched my stand-up from 10 years ago. I was like, you guys are way too nice laughing at these jokes. Okay? I should have quit, but I didn't. I just sucked for a really long time.
Or you just take the path of learning how to become a moderator of a panel and get a panel of people on and take all the notes from everyone on stage. And that's what this was a ruse, everyone, sorry.
I learned a lot on this panel myself too for reviewing games, so thank you.
Yeah, and we were about to close out, but I want to give everyone a chance. Is there anything you're working on or upcoming or anything that you want people to find you? Where, Miles, we'll start with you. Where can people find you, or what work would you like them to highlight?
Yeah, you can find all my work mostly on Temple of Geek. That's where I'm the one of the editors there. I also freelance for places like IGN and WatchMojo. And then us three here do the Leveled Loop monthly podcast. We're trying to do it more often, but it's hard just because time and it's not paid. But I do want to plug one specific. Our next episode's going to be pretty special. I can't talk about it, but if you follow the industry and if you know what's coming out hardware-wise, just look for our next episode. Yeah. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Miles Avenda. That's Miles with a Y, please. Yeah.
Danner?
Yeah, most of my social media is either DanReb or DanRebV. I am mostly on Instagram, but I am coolest on LinkedIn. That is where most of my community is, because I said a lot of things when I was laid off, so yeah. But anyway, as far as like what I'm working on, again, I work for a nonprofit called Gamers Outreach. What we do is we bring video games to kids in hospitals. We're in over 470 hospitals around the world in 13 countries. Really proud of that work. I do all of their blogging and their email marketing, so that's definitely something I'm proud of. And we're having our Gamers for Giving LAN party in Michigan in, it's next week. Oh man, I gotta get ready. But yeah, so definitely check us out. We're at gamersoutreach.org. Talk to me outside. We can, we can help out with whatever it may be, or you can help us out, donate, whatever works.
I did a couple of gamer outreach streams. It was awesome.
Thank you so
They're great
much.
to work with. I do stand-up comedy, so there you go. But I do have a podcast releasing the first 3 episodes on Tuesday called Dork Souls with my good friend Hector Navarro, who's also a big voice in the comic book community. I also just filmed my first comedy special in December that will be out hopefully this summer on YouTube. So honestly, if you just follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all the things, Twitch, I stream 3 or 4 days a week. And it's at WISALALLEN, or you can just look up Lisa Wall and you'll find it. But
I have everyone's socials on the slide.
Yeah, I'm
here.
constantly plugging everything.
That slides.
I will take any job. So that's it. If you want some goose in your gaming, that's me.
Awesome. You can find me, Madrea Star, everywhere. I stream on Twitch 3 times a week, with weekends doing IRL. And right now I'm working on a new show called Playmakers and Shakers, where we have a chance to interview game developers and invite them onto our show and play their games and ask questions. It's about a 3-4 hour show, so you guys can come in with any questions you have. And also I'm proactively looking to do more voiceover work, so if anybody is hiring. Yeah, so yeah.
Right now?
Nice. Social media everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, 8-Bit Close Fist.
Yep, got it right up there.
Yeah. If you are in Los Angeles and you want to come hang out with gamers, I'm throwing a karaoke anime gaming event Thursday at
Hell yeah. You got 1 attendee.
I don't live here.
It's a great place for karaoke too.
Right?
Yeah.
So come down to that Thursday and check out Checkpoint the Show, which is like nostalgic, G4-ish, Attack of the Show-ish type of vibe there. Recording it with just a bunch of friends who just want to see some cool gaming discussions popping off. Yeah, that'll be it. Checkpoint the Show on YouTube, 8-Bit the Close Fist on YouTube as well. And that's it. Yeah.
Great.
Where's the karaoke thing again?
Huh?
Where's the karaoke thing?
Break Room 86, which is in K-Town, Los Angeles. She knows.
Let's get a round of applause for all of our panelists today. And I'd like to also get a round of applause for the WonderCon staff out here. Without this, we couldn't have got this done.
And for our lovely hosts.
Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Intermyth. I have their info there if you'd like to take a photo. Panels like this and many others that you've been seeing at WonderCon this year could not have been done without their help and coordination. So I'd like to give them a shout out as well. Again, thank you all for coming to the main event of WonderCon Saturday. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone. Get home safe.
Good job, guys.